Thanks for joining me on Stockbox today, Andrew.
Not at all, pleasure.
There's been a lot of news from Red Rock over the past week, including updates on your gold project in the Ivory Coast and a lithium project in Zimbabwe. But first to this morning's RNS announcing a raise of just over £236,000. How will these funds be allocated?
Oh, yes. Well, as it says in the announcement, these funds are going to providers of financial facilities and essentially get rid of them. Now, these are the financiers who have adjustable exercise prices depending on the price of the market. So they give you the money in advance and then they do conversion businesses. And works out pretty expensive. And in the wrong kind of market or if market psychology takes against it, it can be perceived as driving the price down. So people call it a toxic facility or they call it death spiral facility. Well, irrespective of whether it is or not, I would say that in some markets, in particular a market that's going up, it can actually serve quite well because it can enable you to feed the market with stock at a time when the price has just gone up a lot. And so people might not want a conventional basis. But in today's market, in today's circumstances, no, I don't think it works for us. And I think the market will be relieved to see us getting rid of it. We have incidentally been paying down these facilities quite aggressively the last several months. So this is just the last bit of it. And I think we'll be a much happier, better company without those kind of facilities.
You've announced quite a bit of news, as I say, over the past week. You've received environmental clearance for mining, which can begin at one of your lithium projects in Zimbabwe. Can you please tell me more about this project?
Yes, this project is at a place called Tin Hill. It used to be a tin mine. So, of course, it has tin tantalite beryllium present, and we're going to look into that later. When we announced that we had got this project, things that get announced here get picked up in the countries where we're operating. This got picked up in Zimbabwe because the Tin Hill mine location is quite well known. It meant that although no one was there before, some people came along sniffing around, like Chinese, like some local people, hoping to get hold of something and to do a deal. And so we found there were some people starting to mine illegally. They didn't have mining permits, they didn't have environmental clearance, and we got them removed. But for the people they're trying to do it locally to start with without telling us, we can solve this. And in fact, that was not going to work. That was going to get them deeper into the mud. As soon as I discovered about it, we took action and were in touch with the government at the highest levels. They took action, appropriate action, and justice was done. And the true license holder, which was us, and the people who'd done the work to get the environmental impact assessment, got their certificate. And so now we're able to produce. So we had to take care of that, but we've done it. We've acted swiftly, and in the course of which the advantage has been we had really good contacts with officials at all the right levels, and they know us, and they're all very supportive of what we're doing and what we're going to do. And we have another three licenses that we could move on quite quickly, get environmental clearance and permission to mine. And having established these relationships, had these conversations recently, I think with the following wind, we should not just do these things sequentially and slowly. We should move very quickly because in the environment there is there at the moment, if you aren't attending to your ground and don't have security there and aren't active, people will come in and start doing illegal things. And they will pay whoever they need to locally to do it. So we're getting the license to take ore off the ground. We have some stockpile there already. We are doing the measures necessary to test the ore so that we can talk to buyers. And we're doing all those little bits of plumbing that we couldn't do until we had the environmental certificate, which was at the end of last week. And at the same time, we're pursuing the things that will give our project scale and longevity. So that's quite exciting.
Excellent. You said in the RNS released on the 15th of June that you're in a position to start shipping product immediately. What revenue do you anticipate generating over the next year and beyond? How is it going to scale up?
My colleague, Ali from here, who is a geologist and who runs our data here, he went out to Zimbabwe, has just come back, and he looked at all the projects and he looked at the financial projections, and we've had them sent to us here. And we're doing some work on it at the moment because we want to come up with a robust financial model, because when we do, we'd like to be able to put it in a presentation and talk about it publicly. And we can only do that if we have really done it to quite a degree of due diligence research, so we're sure of what we're saying. So I think we're working on that at the moment. We will come out with the results, and there's a particular responsibility on us to come up with sensible results, not too aggressive, but realistic, because even realistic ones, even conservative ones, are likely to be good enough that they would have a material impact. You don't want to come out with news that's going to have a material impact, and then it turns out to be wrong, obviously. So that's one of the next stages. In other words, not just getting on with the job and producing and selling in Zimbabwe, but also getting a model to show how we're going to develop this project, what the profitability is going to be, and that is being worked on. I can't say how long it will take, but I thought not longer than a week or two.
Super. Something to look out for in the very near future. Also, on the 16th, you announced you've been granted a license in the Ivory Coast for your Geneco Tarbo project. Probably pronounced that wrong. Can you tell us more about this? It's a gold project, isn't it?
Yes, it's a gold license. We had a number of applications. I think we had 5 priority applications in Ivory Coast. We were lucky to have an exceptionally experienced, very good local geologist as our partner there. And we've had these applications in since the end of 2021, I think. Now, things do take time there, and it is done in quite a bureaucratic way and in various stages, which we've been through, a visit by the ministry, and it has to go through a council or two, and it ends up being presented to the Conseil des Ministres, to the Council of Ministers, at their one of their regular meetings, where they're dealing with all the business of the state, and there, among all the other important things, is something just about issuing a decree to us for our license. And so we've got the first of these. We played it absolutely by the book, and that probably, took time. We could have tried to hurry it up in various ways, but we're British company. We're bound by law, but we're also bound by the way that we want to behave. We want our employees to behave, and so we went this the right way, I think, the quality way, and we made the argument on its merits. We got the first license. We expect to get the second adjacent one very, very quickly, because it's really at the same stage. There was just some question in relation to the border of it in the forest area, but these licenses and the other ones we have in that area south of the capital, which are all quite close to each other, are pretty well-known licenses. As we pointed out, every one of our licenses there has a major shear zone going through it. Everyone has artisanal activity. Everyone has some exploration history that leads us to believe there's strong gold potential. And so we should shortly have 2 licenses, and there's another 3 going through the works, 3 or 4. Everybody knows Ivory Coast, like Burkina Faso next door, is hugely potential for gold. And the tendency with all these countries, whether I suppose you're originally probably the same is true of Ghana, whether you're talking about Mali or Burkina Faso, people start off by finding relatively small gold deposits that are probably exhausted in a few years. As they get better and understand the geology more, you get 1 or 2 bigger, longer lasting deposits starting to be found as things build up. But it takes a lot of geological knowledge and work on the ground by different people to get to that stage. And Ivory Coast, of course, is not very advanced in terms of gold exploration. Even Burkina Faso isn't. During the lifetime of President Houphouët-Boigny, he rather discouraged the mineral industry. And so gold exploration has only taken off in the last few years. Now, these countries are all in the sort of Birimian gold belt, the greenstone belt of West Africa. Large parts of it, there's much more in these countries than there is in Ghana. Ghana had, in particular, that aggregate hosted gold, that some of the Ashanti gold fields had particularly rich gold there. But what they're finding in Ghana now is the same kind of stuff that we're looking for in Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, that they're finding in Mali, and so on. So we're in the middle of a large, important gold province that has been very underexplored, where there's huge potential, because there's been a tendency, because of the sort of stop-go politics that have been there in the past, for foreign companies to come in, do some good work, and then leave because they found something else somewhere else that they thought was going to be easier to go.
So in summary, then, what key milestones should investors keep an eye out for over the coming months?
One key milestone, I think, is getting rid of some of this finance debt. I think a key milestone, obviously, is getting the first permit in Zimbabwe. Key milestone, sorry, a neglected part of our business, has been getting this first Ivory Coast license. And recently we announced that we got the final grant of a license in Burkina Faso. So we'd already had one. Now, in Australia, we also may have some key developments from our joint venture there that may be moving towards listing. But looking at the near term, what would be the key developments that I would expect? I think progress announcements from Zimbabwe, like first ship, first receipt of funds, and so on and so on. And once we start operations, we start looking at the grade and start looking at the size. As you scrape off the surface, you see the size of the pegmatite. Maybe do a bit of drilling and see how deep you can track it. You probably aren't going to go down very deep, but you will prove up enough to be able to give yourself some visibility in terms of earnings. All those announcements will be coming. And then in Congo, we believe we are really close to having the arbitration award signed by everybody. And the arbitration award has been ready there since last summer, but the other party didn't want to sign it because they were going around trying to find some way around it, some way either through the courts, through the state mining company, or through the government, that they could get a different verdict from the one that had been arrived at. I think all those other avenues of advance have been closed off to them, and everybody seems at the moment to be agreed to go and sign. But it's a case of touch wood, and we have to see. But it would be very nice to get an award of $7.5 million gross for that. And we already have, although it's going to be more difficult to claim on, a $2.5 million court award, the money already paid. But these are all positive developments. And, even after we've collected that money in Congo, it won't be the end of the story, because there was a back-to-back transaction that took place whereby the asset was traded on for much, much more. The same day it was taken from us, in fact. And I think there was a conspiracy, and we have to go after sums of money infinitely larger, very much larger than any we're talking about at the moment. So we keep busy. We are doing the things that we ought to be doing to advance our projects, and just if in the near term, probably Zimbabwe and probably Congo will be the main source of news flow.
Superb. So many irons in the fire for potential news flow. Well, many thanks for your time today, Andrew. It's been a pleasure.